Hey, it's New Thought Talk. I am your host, the Reverend Steve Walling. I am the Senior Minister of the Spiritual Awareness Center, located in Fresno in the Tower District at 1470 North Van Ness at the Fresno Soap Company Theater. We meet there on Sunday mornings. Hope you have time to join us some Sunday. Anyway, for today's show, I really kind of gave a lot of thought as to what it was I wanted to talk about today. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and there's a lot of people that are pretty upset. They got a lot of stuff in their lives, and there's been a lot of violence and various sundry of other things. And I make it a point, I don't watch the news. That doesn't mean I'm not caring or concerning about what's going on in the world, but seeing as how the news always tends to want to promote people being upset, I find other ways to get the information that I need. But the information's out there, and a lot of the information that's out there is painting a picture of a lot of angst and hatred, and there's violence and just a lot of negative stuff going on. And I don't think I'm the only one that's noticed it, so I thought maybe today that we take a little time and we talk about it. We'll just kind of see where it goes. But I want to start today with something that's very fundamental, and that is our understanding in New Thought as to, you know, what is this incredible thing that we call God or universal intelligence? It's not a guy. It's not a man. It's not a being that has some kind of fleshy body per se. When we talk about an infiniteness is when we talk about God. That means everywhere. There's no place where God is not. As we understand that, then we also have to accept that either God is in its infiniteness has created something that's in opposition to itself, which is really an impossibility if you think of it logically, or everything that we experience in life as life, whether we call it good or bad, is still God expressed. And so I wanted to start there for people today that have never maybe thought about God in those terms, is an infiniteness, is an everywhere present. Oftentimes we describe God as being an omnipresence, not omnipresent, but omnipresence, that everywhere present is God. And not omnipotent, not all-powerful, but omnipotence, all power. And not omniscient, but omniscience, all wisdom, all knowledge. In other words, everything of all things is God expressing. Now, if we understand that everything and all is God expressing, then the next thing is, what is the nature of this incredible thing that we call God? And the nature has to be something that we call good as we understand good, or love as we understand love, and beyond our understanding. Because God is the creator of all that is. Being the creator of all that is, and the creation being some part of it, because if God is infinite, there can't be anything outside of God, then God cannot be in opposition to its creation, which means that in that sense, God is for us. And we've heard before said that if God be for us, who can stand against us? And there's a lot of truth and wisdom in that saying. But imagine an infiniteness that is omnipresent, and then imagine yourself as a part of this. And this is where things get really interesting for us, because if God is everywhere present, and if you've watched this show, you've heard me say before that we are expressions of God. What does that mean, we are expressions of God? It doesn't mean that we are like puppets. It means that we are spiritual beings celebrating and having a physical expression that we call life, but all of that is supported and created and guided by this universal intelligence that we call God. And it's done so in such a way that it is pro-us, no matter who we are. When we think about some of the things going on in the world, we say, well, how can that be with God being pro-us and being pro-them, whoever and however we define them? And in our ties to a physical life expression, And that's what we do. We tie ourselves to that because this is what we've experienced. Everything that this beautiful body of mine has been set up to do as a body is to interact on the physical plane, to interact with life itself, to interact with other individuals, to do the things necessary to support itself. And as we've grown up, this is what we've known. But at some point in time, we get to think that maybe there's more to life than just this. And that's not new to our generation. It's not new to generations in the recent past. It goes back to the very beginning of humankind. There's an understanding in humanity that there's something more. And religions, many religions have grown up with this understanding and many different ways of trying to answer that question, what is God or gods, has cropped up over the centuries, and we know a lot of that is mythology today, but there was a time when that wasn't mythology. That was the truth for the people that lived with those deities. And in the various parts of the world, and even today, there are people that live with that understanding that there's deities with a multiple of them. But today in our culture, we understand that there's something that we refer to as God. And when we refer to this, what are we referring to? Well, we are referring to a creative source that is intelligent, that is consciousness, that is the substance that provides the underpinning for all that we experience, and it is all that we experience also. I say this because as we begin today to look at what's going on in the world, we're going to have to stretch a little bit, because when we look at what's going on in the world, we have defined things in our physical understanding as an us versus them. And I'm not going to define either us or them, because it doesn't make any difference in truth. Now we all have our good reasons for our usness. We have our list of what is righteously right, and we're willing to go to the mat, so to speak, to defend the right. But if we're all God expressed, there is no their side and our side. There's only God. Now we experience it as them and us because we have keyed ourselves. We have grown up with this idea that there's a them and us. There's a winner and there's a loser. There's a good and there's a bad. There's this duality, and we see it everywhere. And this is something that humanity has kept as even part of its theological and religious understanding, that there's light and darkness. Well, there is light and darkness, but darkness is nothing more than the absence of light. It's not an entity of itself. I heard someone say one time that all the darkness in the world cannot dim the light from a single candle. And it's true, because darkness has no power. It's a potentiality waiting to be filled with something, and that something will always be God, and God will always be good, and even the potentiality itself is still God expressed. So when we begin to look at ourselves as a part of a universality, of an infiniteness, we have to look at things through new eyes. We have to stop looking at things through our old definitions. We've got to give up concepts of right and wrong, and that doesn't mean that we buy into the wrong. It means that we have to reevaluate how it is that we have evaluated these things. And so as we move forward, one of the first things we have to do as individuals in this reevaluating is we got to start at the most intimate, most personal place for each of us. And that's with ourselves. It's not a matter of going out in the world and telling the world how it's got to change. It's a matter of finding the world within us, creating the change there, and then expressing it into a world and seeing the world change. And that's a new concept for a lot of people that are used to power and force, to have authority over. Understanding that in truth there is no authority, and in truth there is no power. We don't see it as our physical expression because the world has showed us something different. But if you begin to look, if you begin to listen to leaders that have, spiritual leaders over the centuries that have taught something different. There's always been an underpinning of this concept. And the reason why it's always been there is because truth will not be denied. It will not be set aside. You can't bury it. You can put it where you don't see it so much, but it's still going to be there. And the truth is, there's just one absolute. Now, I cannot define that absolute. I don't think any being that's alive can define that absolute. But one thing I can tell you is nobody has a corner on it. That absolute is absolute. It's truth. And beyond that, we each have our own individualized understanding, and each spiritual understanding has maybe a piece of that truth. But there's something greater than them all, and that something greater, once we get to that point, tells us that there's nothing else but us. Us as the allness of all it is. One of the unity ministers used to say, we are individually the eachness and the allness, that we are the individualized aspects of the greater whole. And I'm taking time to kind of come back, and I'm working this from different directions because I want you to understand that as we move into our next part of this, that God is all that is. Not all with the exception of anything. God is all that is. And if God is all that is, then what are we going to take up sides against? What is it that we're actually doing? And what we're actually doing is we're actually working with the idea within ourselves of a separateness in our understanding, in our life experience of the truth of what God is. And when we finally set that aside, that idea of separateness, and we open ourselves up to an idea of wholeness and unity, that things change. But it has to start on the spiritual, on the personal spiritual level. And that's our journey. Our journey is not to recruit other people to believe as we believe. It's not to make other people do what we think needs to be done. Our journey is to start with ourselves, start within ourselves, and seek there first the God or the Christ or the power within us. And from that point, then we can move on to other things. But as we make that transition within ourselves, that movement is also going to be transitioned, and it's going to change. And we'll talk about that too. I think we're coming up on about time for our first break. So we're going to take our break, and when we come back, we're going to pick up this idea of the oneness, and there really are no sides to what we think are radically different sides. So I'll see you when we come back.
When you need junk hauled away, call Wes Burgess, owner of Junk King Fresno, to haul your troubles away. Junk King is the #1 rated junk removal service and the greenest, recycling, reusing, or donating up to 60% of what they haul. Call 559-205-7118 or 1-888-888-JUNK. That's 5865. Save $30 when you book online at junk-king.com/Fresno. Cultural Brokers presents Sunset Melodies with saxophonist Jeanette Harris and MC comedian Feather DeWise. August 26, 2017, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Get your tickets and support Cultural Brokers Family Advocate Program, supporting and empowering families to strengthen communities. Call 486-1477 or visit culturalbrokerfa.com. Accepting donations year-round. When you expect dedication and professionalism during your real estate transactions, call upon Portia Luttrell. You deserve a highly qualified realtor to guide you through this very involved process. Call Portia Luttrell at 559-909-3198 and visit PortiaSellsHomes.com. The Saga of Bridget and Amanda by Carol Love Forbes brings to life the struggles of historical women in early America. Find The Saga of Bridget and Amanda on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and order your copy today. Fresno Rescue Mission's Rescue the Children program is a protected, secure environment providing emergency and long-term services to women at risk, abused, homeless, previously incarcerated, and women with children. The community provides women and their children a place to get away from destructive lifestyles, offering a place to heal, learn, and grow. Give to the Fresno Rescue Mission today. Are you having financial troubles and are considering your options? Before filing for bankruptcy, call Katerina Benitez at Benitez Law Firm, PC, 559-472-7337.
Gained a lot, learned a lot, and got a lot of love. If it weren't for the knowledge that I had gained from the classes at PCC, I probably wouldn't be the mom I am today. See, there it goes.
I would love you to meet my son, Aaron. My situation was very difficult. I didn't know how my life was going to turn out.
We graduated in June 2010 and we got married in July. And through family, the Pregnancy Care Center changed our lives.
The Pregnancy Care Center was a huge, vital part in helping me walk through that pregnancy, in educating me and loving on me during that time.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I am your host, the Reverend Steve Walling, from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in Fresno at 1470 North Van Ness at the Fresno Soap Company. We meet there Sundays, meditation at 10, and you can join us at 10:30 for the service. Anyway, before we went to the break, I was talking about this concept of this universality of God, of Spirit. You know, it doesn't make any difference what you call it. It's what you understand it to be that really makes the difference for each and every one of us. As infinite God, an all-power God, an all-present God, an all-knowledge or wisdom God, ever available to us. As individuals, we are God expressed as us. So how is it that we end up having this understanding of sides, my side, your side, my faith, your faith, my right, your wrong, my right? It happens because as we were created as an individualized aspect. In this physical life, our spiritual journey is to, as some people say, to awaken to or to remember the truth of who we are. The truth that we awaken to or remember is that we are God expressed as us. And what New Thought has really sought to uncover in its life as a spiritual philosophy are the tools that we can use in our life to express more of this divine presence through us, because God works for each of us individually, but it works for us by first working through us. You can't go to somebody outside of you and tell them or ask them to create something that's more spiritual for you. They can't give you something that will make you more spiritual. They can't do things for you that will make you more spiritual or have a greater spiritual experience. Your journey is yours and yours alone, and it's a journey that takes place within yourself. And then once we reach that point, we have an understanding then that as we experience life, it's not what somebody outside of us does that affects how we experience life. It's what's within us, how we experience life. And it's tied very intimately within us to things that we hold as beliefs. And beliefs are very powerful things. You know, we can believe in good, we can believe in evil, and we will experience in life those things that we call good and evil. We can believe that because we're of a certain skin color that certain things are either available or not available to us. We can believe because we are a certain orientation sexually that things are available to us or not available to us. The list goes on and on and on, but it's all tied to beliefs. Now the thing is, as we grow up, when we're kids, we're told various things, and oftentimes the things that we're told we take in, and they become part of our belief system. But we don't necessarily know that we've incorporated them, but they're there. And there are a lot of researchers today and researchers in the past that have delved into this concept of how our beliefs create our reality. Now, spiritually, we've understood this for a long time. In New Thought, we say, you are the thinker that thinks the thought that makes the thing, or you create your own reality. And there's many other slogan-like sayings that we throw about. But the truth is, what we believe is what we see in life, or how we see life. And, it's oftentimes, people will take an event or an individual, and they will say that event or that individual caused them to feel happy, sad, worried, whatever, angry. And the truth is, it's not the event. The truth is, it's what we believe about the event that creates the emotions and the feelings within us. And therein lies our reaction. So if we believe something to be good and it happens, we experience happiness. But if we believe something to be not good and it happens, then we experience the negative feelings associated with those things. All that's going on inside of us. And as spiritual beings having a physical expression in this life, if we realize the truth of who we are, then we can begin to make different choices as to how we choose to believe and how we choose to experience life. Beliefs are those things that we have a concept of those being true and real. In reality, they're just beliefs. And things that we believe today, we didn't believe at one time. Things that you'll believe tomorrow may not be what you believe today. Beliefs can be changed, and that's a good thing for us because it allows us to make changes in how we see life and how we interact with life. Have you ever met someone that no matter what happens, life is always good? You can't get a frown on their face. That's because they have an internal belief system that life is always good. But there are a lot of people that believe that life is a struggle, or life is not fair, and the truth is, life is just what is. When we understand that we can change how we react, respond, and then experience life, then we realize the true power that we have in our life to make a greater, better, happier, more harmonious experience that we call our lives. But nobody can do that for us. Only we can do it for ourselves. And so we begin to look at, well, wait a second. How do we look at our beliefs? Do you really know what you believe? Chances are you know some of your beliefs, but a lot of your beliefs, you have no idea that you believe them. There's a way to find out, though. And that way to find out is really very simple, but you got to be honest. You got to sit down, and you got to look into what I call the mirror of life. You got to look at your life. What are you experiencing in your life? If you're experiencing peace, harmony, beauty, abundance, prosperity, then that's what you believe in. But if you're experiencing struggle, limitation, disharmony, unhappiness, then that's what you believe in. And you have the power to change those beliefs. It may not be easy. It is simple, but it may not be easy. But the first thing we do is we realize, we recognize, and we organize our understanding of what it is that we believe. And once we take a look at that, if you're really honest with yourself and you put it down on paper, I'm experiencing unhappiness in these areas of my life, then you believe that you can and that you should experience unhappiness. You said, well, wait a second. I don't believe I should experience unhappiness. You don't on a conscious level, but on some level, you've incorporated a belief in unhappiness as part of the life experience. So we begin to work on those things. We work on those things by addressing the issues within ourselves, and there's, we have many tools that we teach in New Thought: affirmations, meditations, visualization, imagery within the imagination, study, interacting with like-minded people. There's many different tools, but there's other ways to do it. You can do it through therapy. You can do it through other spiritual platforms. There's not one particular way that you're going to find that is the only way that works. But if you search, you'll find one way that works for you. And ultimately, that's all that counts. And that one way starts you off on a journey of self-discovery. And once you begin this journey of self-discovery, you begin to realize how you have limited your life. You know, if you are an expression of God, and you are, if God provided for you in this life, and God does, then why aren't you experiencing all that God brings to the world, all the good? You can. And that's an answer most people aren't ready to deal with, because they experience everything less than. They experience trauma, drama, all sorts of stuff, limitation, struggle. That's because in our physical life expression, those are the things that we've been taught we are to experience. But when you begin to realize that potentially everything that you could desire that hurts no one, that promotes happiness and goodness within your life is available to you, and it's not a magic wand that you're going to wave, but it is a journey that you got to take. You can do this, and there are many people that have done this, and it's available to you. It starts with realizing what you believe. And if you believe that there's good and bad, then you're going to experience good and bad. Well, let's say we look at that, and there's many other things, but let's just look at the good and bad issue. You know, Shakespeare once said that thing neither be good nor bad, but thinking make it so. And in truth, that really is what is, and we can have a long discussion on the many different so-called evils in the world. And there are ways of addressing that to understand that. But let's start with the one thing that we have to accept right from the beginning. If God is everything, no matter what you're thinking of, good or bad, it's still God expressing. If God is all good, then there cannot be any bad in it. There's just the way that we understand good and bad. That can be a real deep subject for a lot of people, and I'm not going to go into that today so much. But if you're an infinite spiritual being, whatever you experience on this physical plane is a blink in an eye to the overall expression of your spiritual beingness. And if you start there, then you can begin to put some things in order. But let's just kind of lighten up a little bit on this, not go so deep. Let's just take a look at what's going on in the world today. We got those guys and women out there, those bad people, right? And we're the good people. Whoever we are, we're the good, they're the bad, and therefore we have to teach them, show them, make them change their thoughts, their beliefs to align themselves with us. We've got to make them be like us. We've got to make them do what we know is good. And there's many other ways of describing it. I'm just being only partially facetious because we hear it all the time. You get it in the world of politics, you get it in the world of religion, you get it in the world of elementary school kids, you get it in high school, you get it everywhere you go. The thing is, you got to step out of that. How do we step out of that? If we're one, if there's a unity, if there's only us, then first off, there is no other side. But how do we explain what we're experiencing? How do we go about creating a better life experience? Can we go about creating a better life experience? And yes, we can. And we start with ourselves. We begin our journey of self-realization, as I was talking about. And then we begin to, as we're growing within ourselves, we begin to look at the world without judgment. Look at the world through the eyes of acceptance, and accepting the what is as what is. If we accept it as what is, doesn't mean that it can't be changed for the better. Yes, it can. But if we accept it as what is, we no longer put ourselves in opposition to it, but we can align ourselves with creating something better. We're going to take our next break, and we're going to talk more about this when we come back. I'll see you then.
hardworking, experienced, and capable. With a record of success over more than 2 decades, the law office of Kevin G. Little is one of the preeminent small firms in Fresno. We represent our clients in a variety of matters, including civil rights, employment, personal injury, general civil litigation, family law, bankruptcy, and criminal cases. Our firm also offers excellent mediation services in civil and family law matters. We approach each case with dedication, aiming to protect you and exceed your expectations. Contact us today at 559-342-5800 and visit kevinglittle.com. Camille Sanders of Chic Romance Travel is your certified destination wedding and romance travel specialist. With Chic Romance Travel, you'll save time, be less stressed, and have a unique, unforgettable travel experience. You deserve this. Call Chic Romance Travel at 1-800-432-1752 or visit chicromancetravel.com. Bring the gym to your home at Athlete Fitness Equipment, located in the Villaggio Shopping Center across from River Park. 0% financing available with approved credit. Visit athletefe.com and call 369-2800.
You can't be fresh if your cut isn't. So support your local barber and come down to JDB Cuts Barbershop at 1855 East Dakota, just east of Blackstone behind the Shell Station. JDB Cuts is open Monday through Thursday from 10 to 6:30 and Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Shula Davis is your farmer's insurance agent, and she'll help you find the insurance plan that's right for you. Call 559-900-2744 or email sdavis5@farmersagent.com.
Visit Princess and the Pauper, where you'll find everything from new and consigned furniture, lighting and art, a line of candles, French soaps, and mineral paint. Whether your style is old world, modern, or a little bit of everything, you'll find it at Princess and the Pauper, located at the southeast corner of Bullard and West. And now you can visit Princess and the Pauper's online store at princessandthepauper.net.
At Miracle Realty, we've been providing premier professional residential sales and property management in residential and commercial property for years. We manage single-family homes, condominiums, apartment buildings, commercial buildings, office space, and much more. No matter what experience level you have in property management, Miracle Realty strives to make your experience as stress-free as possible. Serving Madera and the surrounding areas, we use the latest technology and provide top-notch service. We're a trusted and reliable name in residential sales and property management, with the experience to answer any questions or complications that might come up. Give us a call today or visit us online for more information.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I'm your host, the Reverend Steve Walling, Senior Minister of the Spiritual Awareness Center located in Fresno, California. So we're right in the thick of it. We're talking about good and bad and them and us and how we see the world. And actually, what we're really talking about is the desire that is inherent within most everybody to create a better world for themselves and those around them, those that mean something to them, their family, their children, friends. We get caught up in our idea of what's ours and our tribes, and you can define tribe in any way you want. Believe me, people in the world have used many different definitions to define their tribe. But reality is we're all family. There is only one life, and that life is the divine expressing itself through us. One of the things I like to share with people, this idea of one life, if we go back to when life first appeared on the planet, and I'm going back to an idea of an evolutionary concept of life, there was a point where there was no life, and then there's a point where life was. Now, how we go from no life to life will depend for you on what you believe about the idea of a creative intelligence in the universe. But I think the historical and the archaeological record pretty much give us a solid documentation that there was a time when there wasn't life on this planet. There was a time when life first began to appear, and there was a long period of time where life evolved. And out of that evolutionary process, humanity became a conscious being. And at that point, I believe that God has reached a point of expressing through us at its highest level at this point in time, and that's the idea of consciousness. But through all that time, we learned as physical beings the idea of protection, protecting the group, the tribe, or whatever. And evolutionarily, we developed something within us that people today in neuroanatomy and neuroscience, they call a fear mechanism. I don't know that that's necessarily the greatest name for it, but it's a name that's been attached, and there's functional anatomy, that cranial anatomy, brain anatomy that explains it all. But simplistically, everything that comes into our system is filtered through this. Now, at the point we reach consciousness as humanity, there's something new on the scene, and that's that part of our brain that now is conscious and it's thinking. But even to this day, everything comes into our system first goes through this filtering mechanism, and then secondarily, it goes through our consciousness mechanism. And the time factors are very, very, very tight, very small, but the thing is, it's the way it happens. We still have a tendency to live in this fear mechanism. But as we begin to grow in consciousness, we begin to realize that this mechanism is not necessarily working in our best interest. It may have at one time when it worked to save our body from hostile animals and neighboring tribes, but in today's world, not so much. And as we begin to look at consciousness and we begin to realize that there really is only one life, that means that all life is connected in some way. But more than that, all creation is connected on some way. So if we're talking about all these connections in some way, then we have to come to a point of realization where what we perceive to be as the opposition, whatever that is some part of us also. How do we reckon with that? How do we deal with that? I mean, obviously there's things in the world that need to be changed so that everybody can experience a higher quality, a better quality of life. How do we do that? And there are people that will answer that question with force. They'll answer that question with power. The thing is that history has shown us that both force and power have never achieved the permanency that the believers in force and power would like to have us believe they achieve. But there's been, in the last century, a couple of very significant events where we saw Mahatma Gandhi liberate a country through nonviolence. We saw Dr. Martin Luther King really take a budding equal rights concept and create a whole movement within this country that is still unfolding to this day. Nevertheless, along the way, even with both those individuals, there were people that wanted to utilize power and force to create. Well, why do we have people that want to use these things, use power, use force? Let's pull it back from the big picture and let's take it to the smaller picture. You're in your day-to-day life experience, and you got a problem. You have a reaction. If that reaction is fear-based, anger-based, it's more than likely based in your story. We all have our stories. Our stories are the beliefs and the thoughts that we have collected as we've gone through our life. And if we believe in power as the only way to resolve a situation, then that will be part of our story. If we believe in victimhood, if we believe that we are a victim, then part of our story is the desire to seek revenge or what we may call equity. But most of the time it's more than just an equity. It's a compensation for injuries suffered. And we hold all these inner feelings, and the list is long for all the different variants that people can have in their stories. But we all have our stories. And so we bring our story right now into this moment. My story is here with me, and I'm not separate from my story. And my story is, and we can, run right down the list. My people have been aggrieved, I've been aggrieved, I've been shorted, I've been whatever, and on and on and on, because of various things. And the truth is, as long as you have your story, you have meaning in a physical sense. But a greater truth is, when you give up your story, you begin to realize the truth of who you are. See, if you're not tied to your story anymore, if you're not tied to your story that requires that you have judgment and hate and anger and a desire for revenge or whatever it is that you think that you deserve, if you let that go, what are you left with? You're left with an idea that there is a power and a presence in the universe that is available to you that will provide for you when you open yourself up to that provision. Thing is, you can't open yourself up when you're holding on to hatred. You can't open yourself up when you're in anger or when you're a victim or anything else that puts you in opposition to the divine principle that we talked about in the first two segments. God is, and God is all there is, and God is good, and God is love. But if you are experiencing something other than that, it's not that you are separate from God, but you are in consciousness separating yourself, and you have basically shut off the valve of good into your life because you would rather hold on to your story. You'd rather be your victim. Because it sells. You can sell it. Now, people sell it in books, they sell it in songs, and they sell it to their friends, and it makes them a hero in their own mind, so to speak. But when you give that up and you open yourself up to an idea of a greater good, the ego within us wants to go to fear, wants to say if we do that, we become just part of the homogeneous nothingness. The truth is, when you give that up, is when you really begin to express and experience life at its greatest good. And you can't express and experience life until you're willing to give that up. So, we're looking at the chaos in the world. And what do we got? We got one side, they're the bad guys, whoever they are. We got the other side, and they're the good guys, whoever they are. And so the bad guys are going to do something, and the good guys are going to come over, and they're going to harass them, they're going to, embarrass them, they're going to do something, right? What are they doing? This group is violent, this group is violent. There is no good or bad in that, they're both violent. We've got to recognize that violence is violence, and until we are willing to give up hatred on all sides, violence is going to continue. Chaos is going to continue. The more energy that's put into it, the more return you're going to get on it, and that will be the life experience. That's what we're seeing in society. So how do we deal with this? Well, we deal with this by withdrawing the energy from the situation and creating a new energy in a separate space. And I'll talk about that. I think I'm up on my next and last break by the looks of things. So I'm going to talk about that when we come back. Let's see you then.
Yo Soy Magazine and Circles Fresno is holding a meet and greet August 25th at Club Imperio Granite Park between 5:30 and 8 p.m. Free entry. There will be food, music, and raffle prizes with singer Renee Emilio. When you need a dentist who has a passion for superior aesthetics and comfort, you need Dr. Christopher Wong with Cedar North Dental. Call 559-432-4948 or visit cedarnorthdental.com. Attend the International Holiday Fest, November 4th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Bring the family, enjoy great food, great music, and shop from around the world. Purchase tickets at the convention box office or at eventconsultantsfresno.com. Contact the Realtor of the 21st Century, Rick Munoz, at rickmunoz.realtor. Call Rick at area code 559-827-0888 or 326-5141 or email rickmunoz at realtor.com. Connect with Dr. Alan Hedberg. Watch Doctor Teach Me to Parent on CentralValleyTalk.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Listen to The Psychology Report anytime at thepsychologyreport.buzzsprout.com. Visit booksbyhedberg.com and order a book for your personal growth. And join the conversation on twitter.com/Alan G. Hedberg. If you're getting married soon, contact Raquel Tirado with a Beautiful Day Wedding Ministry at 559-803-1298. Get your dog the proper training for the next hunting season with Reliable Retrievers. With positive dog-friendly methods, your hunting companion will be eager, enthusiastic, and ready to go. Call Reliable Retrievers at 559-287-3375 and visit us on the web at www.reliableretrievers.com. John C. Brown of JCB Bookkeeping Services has over 15 years' experience in bookkeeping and accounting. JCB Bookkeeping is dedicated to helping small to medium-sized businesses with bookkeeping, accounting, payroll services, tax preparation, and more, so you can focus your energy on your business and forge ahead in the marketplace. Call now for a free consultation, 559-658-2625, or visit jcbbookkeeping.com. The Stacking Shed is dedicated to stacking your sandwiches and also serves up much more. Located at 2119 Merced Street in downtown Fresno, the Stacking Shed is open Monday through Friday from 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call them at 559-492-1102.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I am your host, the Reverend Steve Walling, the Spiritual Awareness Center located in Fresno, California. I've been talking about this because recently this whole idea, this conversation has been kind of going around through my head. I want to see a better world. I want to see a better world for everybody, not for a certain segment, but I want to see a better world for everybody. And I believe that the divine principle, the underlying foundation for all that is, gives us everything that we need to create that better world, where nobody lives a life impoverished, where nobody lives a life of limitation. But it's going to take a shift in consciousness of more than just a couple of people. But we're going to have to start looking at things that, violent confrontation has got to come to an end. And not come to an end because one side beats down another, because that just leaves the seeds for further violent confrontation in the future. It's got to come to an end because we create a better consciousness, a better space for all of humanity. We give up our story. We give up having to need to be vindicated. Because when we turn to the divine principle, when we turn to God, it's not about vindication, it's not about our story. It's about being the recipient of an infinite omnipresence, an infinite omnipotence, an infinite omniscience, all power, all good, and everywhere present. And we become the recipients of that. And we express life in ways that most people have no idea. History has listed people from time to time that have expressed life in a higher level of consciousness. And the stories have come down sometimes as mythology and sometimes as religious text. But there's enough of it there throughout the historical record that it's more than just coincidence. There is something there that's available to us when we avail ourselves to it. And there is something in the universe that we call love that will express through us as we open our hearts and our minds up to it. But we have to make the choice to do it. And that can be risky for people. Deciding to make a choice to create a loving consciousness within yourself and accepting only a loving consciousness from yourself as an expression into life can be very, very terrifying to some people. Because there's that ego side of us that says the what ifs. What if this happens? What if? We got to let go of the what ifs. God didn't create the world and everything in the universe and everything else on a what if. It was created. It was created with a purpose to express itself. And humanity is the highest form so far that we know of the entire whole creative process. And we are that place because we have consciousness. And we have consciousness so that we can use our minds to think. And we use our minds to think because thinking thoughts creates things. And we can think thoughts that are good, wholesome, healthy thoughts that create good, wholesome, healthy life experiences. Not as we define them, just as good. Because when we get to that point, we no longer are worried about what someone else is doing. We don't need their approval. We don't need their okay. We don't need their agreement, because it'll be there on their own level, and we'll be good with that. I think it was Sir Anthony Hopkins that said, and I've seen this around the internet from time to time, that, you know, your opinion of me is none of my business. That's a powerful concept, but let's take it to the next step. Not only is your opinion of me none of my business, your opinion of me has no effect in my life and should never have an effect in my life. But not because I disdain your opinion, but because my whole consciousness, my foundation, is in and secured in and demonstrated and manifested through something that I understand as the divine universal principle that I call God. God in me, expressing through me as me. It doesn't need your opinion, doesn't care for your opinion, and can exist well without or with, you know, whatever you think that you've got to add to it. But when I do that, there's something else that comes along with that, and that's this idea, this consciousness, the divine love. So no matter what's going on, nothing gets excluded. So when there's things going on in the world, in society, where individuals are looking to create hate and disruption, those people that come around, that gather there, are just bringing more hate to the disruption and creating greater disruption. So what if we were to, instead, if we become aware of something like this, gather with like-minded people that want to see a greater good, a greater peace, a greater harmony expressed in the world, and create another event across town. But let's make it a bigger event. Let's suck all the air of hatred out of it and replace it with a consciousness of love. You know, news shows, we could do away with most of them, and the world would be a much better place. Too many people live their lives based on what they see on the morning and the evening news. Their fears get fed, their worries get worried, and on and on and on. You know, if you just turn it off and you spend a little time thinking about what a blessing it is that you had this day to experience your life, if you take a little time to look at those that are in your family or look at your situation, and the beauty of it is, no matter what your situation is, no matter how down is, you can always find something to be grateful for. And that's where you start. You start with gratitude. You're grateful for the mere fact that you're breathing. Fine, that's where you start. You're grateful that you had food for today or that you had water. Fine. What you praise, you raise in your life. If you praise the good, if you praise the gifts, if you praise the gratitude, if you praise the love, if you praise the beauty and the harmony in your life, that's what you'll create. But if you're running around like a hamster in a wheel, worrying with your worry beads, that is your praise, and you will create more to worry about. If you're running around knowing that you've got to beat down the opposition because you're correct and they're wrong, you're creating more violence in the world. Violence in the world only creates more violence. At some point, we have to begin to make a different choice. All of humanity, we're all, however you want to call it, we're all brothers and sisters. We're all one. There is no opposition. There's just people that believe that they're in opposition. And they believe they're in opposition because their hearts are filled with a consciousness of separation and anger and hatred. We got to raise our kids with an idea and a concept that life can be lived as a life of acceptance. Now, we got to let our stories go. Our stories, our individual stories, our cultural stories, our national stories, we got to let them go. That doesn't mean we turn our back on history, and it doesn't mean that we don't establish boundaries sometimes when boundaries need to be established. But it does mean that we don't let our stories dictate the who and what we are. That we take back control of our lives. That we don't give it to the news, and we don't give it to the people that seek to create more fear and worry and hatred and violence in the world. And we don't do it by condemning them. We don't do it by denigrating them. We do it by accepting the fact that they were also created by God. And we're just not going to participate in their game. Because ultimately, that's what they want. They want us to participate. They want us to show up at the rallies and to protest against them, or to set our own rallies of protest up where we can create situations where they can come and create anger. If you set up a consciousness of peace and love, and I've seen this, I lived through it in the 60s sometimes, and there was a lot of protests, and there was some violence, there were some bad things that happened, but there were times when people got together, and all they did was just experience the goodness of the people that got together. And it was an amazing time, and amazing things happened. Sometimes in great, sometimes in small. That's available to each of us. As parents and grandparents, as young people coming up, we have within ourselves, and it is within ourselves, the power to create a better, greater world. But we don't do it by going out and pounding down somebody else. We do it by building up something within ourselves that is powerful beyond power. And that's the love of God, the love of the divine, the love of the infinite creative intelligence of the universe. And when we do that, we bring that to our life. It's amazing what that does in your personal life, the lives of people around you, and through them, the lives of people around them. You can be that light in the darkness, and all the darkness in the universe cannot dim that light. But we bring that one light, and we bring another light, and we bring another, and pretty soon we've got a whole lot of light, and pretty soon we've got an infinite amount of light. That light is the light of the divine. It's the light that's available to us. We've got to claim it. We've got to remember who we are. We've got to awaken to our truth. That's what we teach in New Thought. And you know, we teach it in such a way that should you choose to still hang on to, retain, and experience and express in the given religion of your choice, we can honor that too. We make no demands on how you choose to express your spirituality. We just offer tools that you can use and ideas for you to consider. You create the life that you want to live. If you're living a life that's got worry, if you're living a life that's got fear, if you're living a life that is not prosperity, if you're living a life of discord on any level, something different is available to you. But it's not available through somebody else. It's available through you. The divine, the creative source, the power of all that is right where you are, always. You are never alone. God, Spirit, is always with you, always, and available to you. But you got to learn to listen. You got to learn to open up. You got to learn to shut down that chatter that's tied to the material world that tells you that life is full of horror and limitation and lack. Yeah, we see it right now, but that can change. And you can be a force in that change. You can be a powerful force in that change. And if you don't, maybe somebody else will. But it's a change that needs to come. And you are a person that can participate. And today, I'm asking you to participate. Think about it. In the meantime, you can meet with us if you're here in Fresno. We meet Sunday, 10 o'clock, the Fresno Soap Company. It's located at 1470 North Van Ness. Our meditation's at 10. Our service starts at 10:30. You can find other spiritual New Thought organizations online. You can go to findacenter.com, and there's other sources. Centers for Spiritual Living, Universal Foundation for Better Living, There's a lot of them out there. There's things that you can resonate with, and if you don't find the first one that kind of, mixes well with you, find another, because there's something out there. Universal intelligence is everywhere present. Thank you for being with me today. I hope you enjoyed me sharing just kind of my thoughts. We didn't get down to real specifics. There's a lot of meat behind the things that I just touched on, but you are the catalyst in your life. Make that choice for change. Thank you. As you go through the week, know the light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you, and the power of God protects you. The presence of God watches over you. Like I said, no matter where you are, God is there, and all is well. Have a great week. I'll see you when I come back.
This segment is brought to you by Mike Briggs Properties. The recession's over. It's now safe to sell your home. Call Mike Briggs Properties.
Visit Princess and the Pauper, where you'll find everything from new and consigned furniture, lighting and art, a line of candles, French soaps, and mineral paint. Whether your style is old world, modern, or a little bit of everything, you'll find it at Princess and the Pauper, located at the southeast corner of Bullard and West. And now you can visit Princess and the Pauper's online store at princessandthepauper.net. Need a new phone? Have a cracked screen? Cell Pros can set you up with an iPhone for as little as $120. Cell Pros Fresno can meet your cell phone needs. Cracked screen? Cell Pros can have it fixed the same day. Visit us at one of our 4 convenient Fresno locations. Call Cell Pros at 559-961-7767, 961-7767, or visit cellprosfresno.com.
If you're getting married soon, contact Raquel Torrado with a Beautiful Day Wedding Ministry at 559-803-1298. Join the Paycation lifestyle for the ultimate experience in travel training. Contact Amanda Howard, a certified travel agent, at 559-708-3991 or visit monarchtravel.paycation.com.
Here at Central Valley Talk, we've chosen Select Business Systems to provide for our copy, print, and scanning needs. We used to think it was cheaper to purchase our own toner and maintain our own office equipment. But now, with the expertise and experience of Select Business Systems, our office workflow is running at peak performance, saving our company time and money. They've truly set us up with our new Sharp multifunction copier, streamlining our office with the press of a button. To find out how you can improve your office technology, call Select Business Systems at 446-0123 or visit their website at selectsharp.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com